Hey everybody, today we're going to be making a video about Flightgear videos and doing waypoints on the waypoint route finder autopilot. So firstly, what we're doing here now is we're getting the GPS coordinates of the flight that we want to plan, and it's somewhere in Germany. First we're starting at Hagen, not sure pronunciation. Then we're going to this place called Gaustern, and then on to another small town up next. And finally, we'll be going to the next small town just north of that. And that would be the whole extent of the flight. Now we need these GPS coordinates in order to set up our flight plan. Now you can see the flight there linearly mapped out, and now we can find the coordinates when you right click close to it, and we'll just make a note of these coordinates. And also we can see the total distance of our flight, where we measured the distance on Google Maps. We're going to be starting the Flightgear simulation from the command line. I didn't actually get the autopilot to work properly, so I thought it might have been the graphical launcher that was the problem. So I sort of launched it from the command line, hoping that it would fix it. It didn't do that though. It was another thing that was wrong that I'll show you. In any case, so I stuck with the command line launcher. Here you can see me launching Flightgear from the command line. Look, there's the flight plan that we're going to be using. I'm opening it up in Notepad. I actually made this in Flightgear itself and then just edited it afterwards, entering the GPS coordinates that we measured earlier. There's the string that we're going to be using to launch Flightgear, and there it goes. So here we launched into Flightgear from the command line. As you can see, we started at a certain altitude, just enough above ground level. So I just paused the simulation here to set up the autopilot. Here's the route manager. As you can see, the command line launched with a certain flight plan, and you can see it there in route manager. In order to get route manager to work, you actually need to put on this heading control. But you pause and unpause the simulation. Now you see that GPS FMS heading appeared out of nowhere. And if you don't choose that, then the autopilot doesn't actually use route finder, and it doesn't actually work. So you need to do that to get it to work. Now there you can see the autopilot plotted on the map, and you can see the aircraft heading towards the first heading, and you can see our flight plan sort of in that magenta, I think it's magenta, purple color. And we're heading towards there. We're in the in-cockpit view. You can see me turning off the autopilot because I actually want to take manual control over here. The story behind that is, when I ran it the first time, the autopilot wouldn't actually follow this this track that's set up by the flight plan. It turns out that the gains on the autopilots are actually quite a lot lower than what's necessary to track these paths. So even though this is a video about how to make waypoints work, I'm turning it off and flying it manually. So but it still illustrates the point. I couldn't find a very nice video to explain to me why that worked or didn't work. But so there you have it. You can use that, and if the arcs that it's flying on the tracks large enough, the autopilot will have no problem in following it. On the screen you can also see I turned on the HUD of the aircraft. It's just to see the speed and the altitude above ground level. For this video I wanted to be 300 to 500 feet above ground level. You can see it there on the indicator. How I made this video is I used something called Share X. Put a link in the description below. It's free to download and use. You just highlight the section of the screen you want to capture, and then you record what you're doing. For the voiceover I used Audacity. It's also free software. And to put it all together I used the OpenShot video editor, which is also free. And you can make this sort of rudimentary video setup with these three tools, and of course Flightgear. Here you see the aircraft turning, sort of on the final leg of the flight that I wanted to show. And this is still on the inside view of the cockpit. At the end of this I'll sort of zoom out, change the view, and a few different perspectives. The aircraft I chose was the Horton 9, or the sometimes called the Gotha aircraft. I don't think they were actually ever flown, but a mock-up was built. This video was actually just a preparation video for another video about this specific flight that I wanted to discuss, and this is just actually the tool to be able to do that. There you see me switching on the engines because I want to be flying the aircraft under power now, so as not to lose too much height. There you can see the aircraft from the rear, from the aft side, and see the autopilot settings. So I'm turning the autopilot back on because I want it to do the control while I am doing some different visualizations of this flight. Just have a look at this beautiful tailless aircraft from different perspectives. It's flying along in Flightgear. And some different views. There's your flyby view. And that's pretty much all there is to this. Thanks for watching.